Thank you. May I say, first of all, a big thank you to you and your team, to the people of Milan, who've been extremely kind and generous in giving us wonderful facilities to have this Gymnich meeting. As you've said, the Gymnich is important because it's an opportunity for ministers to think about the longer term in a more strategic way. And of course, as you've said, we have focused our attention on three key issues during the course of the last day and a half. This press event needs to be short, I'm afraid, because I must leave to get to Brussels, where I have a meeting with President Poroshenko, a meeting with the President of the Council, and then we'll participate in the European Council this evening. But I wanted to just give a chance for you to hear a little bit about the discussion that we've had. Not surprisingly, yesterday a great deal of our time was devoted to the crisis in Ukraine, and all ministers expressed their deep concern about the recent aggression against Ukraine by regular Russian military forces. This goes against the efforts we've been making towards finding a political solution to this crisis, most recently in the discussions that we had in Minsk, which you know I participated in together with my colleagues from the European Commission, Commissioner de Gucht, the Trade Commissioner, and Commissioner Oettinger, the Commissioner for Energy. We are very clear that there's no military solution to this crisis. We need a sustainable political solution that respects Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty. I believe it's more necessary than ever. So we continue to urge Russia to stop hostility, to stop the flow of arms, equipment, and personnel into the conflict region, and to withdraw its forces from Ukraine. I will be reporting on our discussions to the European Council this evening, and as I've already indicated, I will meet with President Poroshenko, who is currently in Brussels. And European leaders will then decide how to react to latest events. But we also spent a lot of time talking about events in our southern neighbourhood. Ministers condemned the unacceptable actions of ISIL and agreed that we need to redouble our efforts to combat the threat they pose, in close collaboration with the countries of the region. The threat is not only to the region itself, but the spillover that affects Europe directly, not least because of the danger of foreign fighters. That means we need to work within the European Union as well. It's also vital that we provide political and humanitarian support to the government in Iraq and to the Kurdish authorities, and will continue to support the sovereignty and integrity of Iraq, to work to ease the suffering of all those caught up in the fighting in Iraq and in Syria, and to assist neighbouring countries, especially Jordan, which are doing so much to help refugees. And then this morning we've had a long discussion about the Middle East, and we've welcomed the ceasefire agreement in Gaza that brings an end to the recent violence. We all know how important it is to address the humanitarian situation in Gaza. We thank Egypt for its mediation efforts and urge Israelis and Palestinians to seize this opportunity to negotiate a comprehensive and sustainable agreement, an agreement that can also address the root causes of the conflict and change the situation in Gaza. A durable peace, we know, can only be achieved through the resumption of the Middle East peace process, leading to a two-state solution, and we stand ready to contribute to support a lasting solution. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I think the first question for Lisa Yucca from Reuters. There's a microphone coming, so.
Good morning. I have a couple of questions for Mrs. Ashton, if I may. The first is about Ukraine, which was discussed. As you said, is there a consensus for stronger action against Russia, and what sort of measures were discussed or could be contemplated? And then a second question, if I may, over Iran. You are meeting the Foreign Affairs Minister of Iran in Brussels on Monday. Could you confirm that the idea is to restart nuclear negotiations over Iran in New York around mid-September before the UN General Assembly? Thank you.
On your second question, yes, I'm meeting with Foreign Minister Zarif in Brussels on Monday. It's part of not restarting, but actually ongoing discussions that are taking place, and we, I think, have already confirmed that we will use the opportunities that we find of being in New York to take time to also continue that. Our ambitions remain the same, and I'm looking forward to seeing him on Monday. In terms of Ukraine, well, it's now for the heads of state and government at the European Council to decide what they wish to do. I will report back from our discussions here. As I've said, President Poroshenko is in Brussels and will have a series of meetings. And then heads of state and government will this evening decide what further action they believe to be the right thing to do.